Week 17. I've almost made it. It has been such a long time since I have written to you. As I write this, I'm sitting in a dark room. The laptop is the only thing shedding any light throughout. In the room, there sits a desk and a single chair, which is where I'm sitting. Upon entering the room, I was given an instruction. Write. So that's what I'm doing. All will be explained in the next few logs. What happened in the abyss, how I got here, and what I've found out. If I'm being honest, I don't know what I'm going to do after I finish this story. But don't worry, this log, it's not the end. So, the abyss. That's what I've been calling it, this long stretch of nothing that seems to go on for miles. My legs grew sore just thinking about it. There had to be an end, right? No one builds a tunnel to nothing. Or maybe that's what they wanted me to think. I walked senselessly, aimlessly. At least it felt aimless. It was about an hour of walking in when I found it, the door. It was this sleek black futuristic panel, something out of Star Trek. I didn't even have to touch it. It was like it almost sensed my presence when I opened. The door slid upwards, like I said, futuristic. I walked through it and found myself in another house. Did I walk upwards? I had to have. The abyss was below the basement, at least 2 stories below the surface, right? Anyway, the first thing I noticed was the broken window in front of me, and the bloodied rag lay crumpled on the floor. I was in Peter's house, the man I killed. But obviously, he wasn't here. They must have gotten rid of the body, didn't want it stinking up the place. I started to look around, and that's when I heard this buzzing sound go off again. The door. I crouched down and made my way towards the window, where I could see the big metal portal to the outside world open and spew out dozens of armed guards, all headed for the house at the end of the street. I suppose they didn't realize I was in Peter's house, not having it under surveillance since no one was inside. I didn't know how much time I would have, so I had to think of a plan, something simple and on the spot. I made my way around the house, looking for anything that could help me. His basement was very different than mine. There was a workshop here with tools, specifically a hammer. I grabbed the hammer and moved back upstairs to find a way out, but there wasn't. The doors were locked all the same as in my own home. The windows opened just as much as well, barely an arm could fit through. But there was one window I hadn't tried, the window in front of the house, the broken one. If I could break the rest of the window, I could pull myself and head to the door. I couldn't smack the glass with the hammer. It would take too long to break it all, and the guards would hear it before I could escape. I needed something big, something that could break the glass fast. I started to look around again, and found my ram of choice, the television. I picked that thing up and hurled it through the already weakened window, breaking almost all the glass off. I didn't have time to think of my next move. I climbed out and immediately bolted. The big metal door was open, and I was halfway between it and the guards. I was almost there. I was so close. I could taste freedom. I was about a house away when 3 more guards came crawling out from behind it. They were waiting for me to make a move. I had no time to think, but I had to think. I had no other option. I was surrounded. My next move was not well thought through. I started running at the men, hammer in hand, red in my eyes. I wanted nothing more than escape. I didn't think of the consequences. I made it to one of them, knocked him out cold. That's when they started shooting. Not at me, but at the ground. They didn't want me to advance any closer, and they didn't have authorization to kill me. But back then, I didn't think too hard about if they would kill me or not, just the fact that they could. I darted in between the houses, trying to escape, but I didn't know my way around at all. I was in the backyard of the house and on the middle to the left, where I found a well. A well? Yeah, a well. Strange thing, but I was tired of asking questions that I wouldn't get answers to. I looked down, trying to measure the drop, but that's when they found me. I already had my backpack off and about to drop it down. But when I saw them, they didn't seem too keen on making conversation. I held up my hammer, ready to attack, and that's when one of them started to fire, hitting the well behind me and almost hitting me. One of the other men tried to get him to stop, but it was too late. He got one good shot, in which it sent me down the well. The fall was further than I had measured. I awoke, however, hours later and found myself lying in bed, but I wasn't in my room. I stood up and found my bag. The bullet had ripped through the fabric, but it found its way inside my laptop. That's why it took so long for me to write to you. I had no way of communication, but now, well, you can surmise that that's changed. When I opened the door to exit the room, I found myself very shocked. The staircase stood in front of me, a staircase leading down, another level, sinking deeper and deeper. I found myself learning little about where I was going, and even littler about where I was. This is not a test. It kept running through my brain, and I felt further down this rabbit hole, but I can guarantee you Wonderland I was not. The first step felt like a high dive into a shallow pool. The next felt like an impact. I kept going, hoping the staircase wasn't as long as the tunnel. But an abyss seems bottomless at first, until you finally get there. The staircase brought me into a room filled with a television and a control panel. A control panel? Yes, I said that, or I wrote that to be more specific. I'm getting tangulated. Sorry. I sat down at the panel and started to read off some of the buttons. Door access, room lock, disable AC. I couldn't believe it. The television showed all the interior of the houses, including my own. They'd been controlling everything from here, watching me, right under my nose, right under me. I felt stupid. I felt weak. The next thing I know, the door shut behind me and the TVs went off, and it was dark. Did you take the pills? Those were the first real words I heard in nearly 2 months. I didn't even think about the words spoke, just the fact that they were. You know the feeling you finally get when you finally sneezing after a hot tinge in your nose lasts much longer than it should? Well, that's what it felt like, a relief. But I had no reason to be relieved. I didn't turn around. I was afraid. Well, did you? He continued. My neck felt stiff, so stiff that turning my head would cause it to break. But it didn't. I turned around to find a dark shadow standing in the corner of the room. I felt compelled to answer. Yes, I did. He came closer. Not close enough that I could see his face, but close enough to where I could read the name tag on his doctor's coat. Good. We have a lot to talk about, and little time to do it. This is the end of Log 6.